Welcome to the most complete testing video of macOS 14.4 on unsupported Macs, obviously with the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.1. So while I was shooting this video and I was testing all my unsupported Macs, I came across a bug that with my MacBook Air 2013 here, there was no trackpad and mouse recognized in that recovery mode. And while I was discovering that error, just 8 hours after the initial release, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher team just released a bug fix version 1.4.1, which obviously fixed the trackpad and the keyboard error of that MacBook Air 2013. So if you hear me talking in that video about OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0, that was because this part of the video was already done before the new version was released, but that doesn't make any difference. I just tested, for instance, the Mac Pro 2013 with both versions and all other Macs as well. The only main issue that was fixed in 1.4.1 is the MacBook Air 2013 trackpad and keyboard issue. So Apple just released macOS 14.4 2 hours ago, and the developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher obviously just released their new version that has been in standby for nearly 2 weeks, ready with the latest beta, and they released OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0. And it's quite important because it's definitely required for macOS 14.4. There are so many warnings on the website of the developers, so that you really need OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0 for macOS 14.4, because Apple changed so much behind the curtain that, for instance, the developers were not able to reintegrate graphic drivers yet for non-metal graphic cards. So what does that mean? That means if you have a Mac older than 2012, there is a non-metal graphic card in there, you cannot upgrade to macOS 14.4 yet with the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0, because they don't have graphic acceleration graphic drivers for that. So I just fired up all my unsupported Macs behind me and I tried all kinds of installation methods, like I created USB drives for all the MacBooks to see if there's any problem with updating. In the older versions, there were problems with a stuck loading bar, about 1/3. So you needed the safe mode, keeping shift pressed for the MacBooks. I'm gonna test that right now, if the USB methods do work now or if you need the safe mode again. I will do some regular updates, like here behind me you can see the Apple logo with a black screen. That is the trash can, the Mac Pro 2013 that has already installed the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher version and is just updating as a supported Mac. How does that work? As soon as the Macs have internet connection and boot up, there is a tool of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher that runs in the background that checks if there's a new version. And this will pop up and say, okay, you have installed whichever version, 1.3.0 for instance, there's a new version of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0. Do you want to download and install that? Obviously, the easiest way is just to say yes. It downloads about 600 megabytes, installs it into the applications folder, and then it just asks, okay, do you want to install it to your disk? So the latest version. You obviously say yes. It doesn't change anything to your macOS version yet, so it's just an update of OpenCore Legacy Patcher version. After the installation, it says, okay, shall I install the new root patches? Obviously, you say yes again, and it installs the root patches of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0. Now you're good to go. One more reboot, and then you have the latest OpenCore booted and your old macOS version, still, for instance, 14.3.1 here in my case, but with the new root patches. So it's all prepared for the update. So now you just click on the system settings. There's an update available. You say install, and it will download the whole installer. That is because with unsupported Macs, the incremental update function is broken. So it cannot just download the updated files, about 2-3 gigabytes. It always downloads the whole 14, 15, 16 gigabytes update. That is normal for unsupported Macs. And talking about the trash can, as you can see, I just started the update. It downloaded the whole installer, it started the installation, and right now it's with a black screen with the Apple logo, and it says about 5 minutes remaining below the bar, and then it should just come up with macOS 14.4. But in this video, so stay with me, I will go through all different kinds of unsupported Macs, starting with a MacBook Pro 2012, a MacBook Air 2013, I do have a MacBook Pro 2015, a MacBook Pro 2016, iMac 2017, and I do have the Mac Pro 2013, the trash can over there, and the cheese grater that is just sitting below my desk. So a variety of Macs, and I try different kinds of update methods. So a USB method and the regular update method. I also try, and I will show you how that works, and if it works, if you update the iMac 2017 from the last official macOS, which is Ventura, or the MacBook Pro 2016 with the last official macOS, that is Monterey. So I give you a quick how-to, how you can update from a non-OpenCore official, latest official macOS version to the latest OpenCore macOS 14.4 Sonoma version. So a lot to do. Let's start with the different Mac models, and you can pick the corresponding model you have. And by the way, if it's older than 2012, do not update to 14.4. Let's start with the trash can. So the Mac Pro 2013 trash can was easy and smooth with updating. As I just said, I just powered it up. It found the new OpenCore Legacy Patcher version, asked me to download and install it. Yes. Install the new OpenCore. Yes. Install the root patches. Yes. Reboot. Yes. And then I could just click on update with the system settings as with any supported Mac. It downloaded the installer. It just takes 2 or 3 reboots, about 45 minutes, and now it welcomes me in macOS Sonoma 14.4, but with a black or a white screen depending on your settings, because there's no background, because there is no graphic acceleration, as there is no root patch installed yet. Because every update with macOS breaks all root patches. You need to reapply the root patches after every update. And so OpenCore Legacy Patcher just detected that it's running without root patches, and Bluetooth is still working. So you don't need any wired keyboard or mouse for Mac Pro 2013. And I can just tease you, for the Mac Pro 2012, you need a wired keyboard and a USB 2.0 hub, but that's later in the video. Right now, it just asks, shall I install the root patch? And you say, okay. You just need your password. And then the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0 comes up, root patches this Mac Pro. And when you check the log, it will just say, okay, I don't have any internet connection to download the latest KDK. This was downloaded during the install because the OpenCore Legacy Patcher detects that you are updating. And so if it detects, oh, it's updating to a new macOS version, I just download the latest KDK I can find to have it available right now, because I don't have any Wi-Fi drivers, so I don't have any internet connection, so I don't have a new KDK download available here. There it is, it's finished with the root patching, and we say reboot. And now we can check when it's rebooted if the graphic acceleration is there and if there are any problems with the trash can. So there it is after the reboot. We see the Sonoma wallpaper, so the graphic drivers and all the root patches seems to be installed. But there's one thing, as Apple always say, if we look in the corner, you can see that the Wi-Fi is not connected. So as the developers write on their website, the auto reconnect feature might be broken due to change in the root patch. So it knows my network here, but it could not be joined. So they say that you might have to delete the known network settings and reconnect, so you have to enter your password into the Wi-Fi app once to get it reconnected to the Wi-Fi. So let's check that. We go to the Wi-Fi settings and we go to known networks. If I click connect, it says it could not be joined. So let's go here to the three dots and we say forget this network, remove, and then we can just switch off the Wi-Fi once, switch it on again. It's searching for the networks, but you see that the Wi-Fi is working as it's showing all kind of networks. So we go here onto my network, say connect, but now we need the password. Click OK, and there you see it is connected. So don't worry if your Mac is not connecting to the Wi-Fi. Just say forget network and reconnect, entering your password once, and then everything should be fine and it should automatically reconnect right now. There's only a one-time reset. So as we're now connected to the internet again and to the Wi-Fi, we can check Bluetooth. It is working as my keyboard and mouse are both wireless. They are working, and I do have a quick check if everything's fine. First, I go to Safari and I go to the Apple website to see if the animations and everything is working so that Safari is rendering the websites correctly. So you can see the new MacBook Air here, and we can just scroll through the website, but you can see the animations are working and it all looks as it should. So that looks good. If we go back and we maybe go to the new iPhone 15 Pro here, you can see there's the animation with the titanium, it's working, and down here all these videos are playing as they should. So the graphic acceleration in Safari seems to work fine, even though these graphic cards are only the D300, so the basic model of the Mac Pro 2013. There's D500 and D700, but the feature set is the same. They just got faster and have more VRAM. So these are 11-year-old graphic cards, but they all already have metal, so this should be fine for the Mac Pro 2013. So Safari is working, and as you can see, we quit the Safari, we go into the weather app, and the Mac Pro 2013 always had an issue with the Apple Map Kit, and there was an issue with the transparency in maps. And in the weather app is working. It's a little slow because it's loading all the data right now. And if I click on the map, you can see that it looks like they fixed the transparency issue that we had up until macOS 14.3.1. So to check that, we can just go into the Maps app and we go to Cupertino. Ah yeah, okay, there you see it's still having the same transparency issues as the white text have black boxes. And if I switch here to Explore, you can see that the black text has white boxes. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see it more clearly. There is no transparency around the text. But that is the only issue, as the map is also working, the Maps app. In the Photos app, it's the same. There is the Places tab here, where you have the map, and you can see that all the text has transparency issues. But that is really the only thing that I found out up until 14.3.1 with the Mac Pro trash can. So that looks all good. If I go to the News app, you can see it's loading, and you can see March 7th, it's just released, and I'm testing it. It's Thursday, So when we go down here, the news app is working with the older versions of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher that was crashing, for instance. That looks all good. And so let's go to the Apple TV app. Welcome to Apple TV, and let's check Monarch. There you see, there is the video. And if I go to full screen, it's working. So the Mac Pro 2013 just passed all the initial tests, and I will check them a little bit more thoroughly during some breaks in the video. But let's move on to the Mac Pro 2012, the old cheese grater that is sitting below my desk, which has an upgraded graphics card RX 580, so I don't expect any problems with this. So with the Mac Pro 2012, the cheese grater here down below my desk, I did a little bit different approach. So I just downloaded the OpenCore Legacy Patcher version, and then in the OpenCore Legacy Patcher version, I clicked Create macOS Installer, Download macOS Installer, and down here it finds macOS Sonoma 14.4, and I just downloaded that. If you did so, you will find that in your applications folder as install macOS Sonoma. But before you start that installer manually, you obviously have to update OpenCore Legacy Patcher. Okay, so you click here, it has the correct model, Mac Pro 5.1, build and install OpenCore. It says install to disk. You obviously choose your system disk. This is my SSD here, where you click that, EFI, and then you need your password, and now it installs the latest OpenCore onto your disk. After that, just one reboot and you should be good to go to install the update manually, which I now will do on that cheese grater. So after the reboot, you find the installer here in the applications folder. You can also go to the Launchpad and you will find it here in the Launchpad. We start this, I can just close the Finder, and the installer comes up, macOS Sonoma. I say continue, agree to the software agreement. Obviously we want to install it on the Macintosh HD boot disk. I just have to enter my password again, and now it starts. But nevertheless, during the install, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher will again pop up and say, okay, I found out you update macOS. I will prepare the update by downloading the latest KDK. So after the reboot, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no internet, but it has the KDK already downloaded and ready for the root patch. So let's just update this, and I'll show you in fast forward how it works. So the Mac Pro 2012, same as the trash can, has rebooted a few times and is just now welcoming us with macOS Sonoma 14.4, but without any Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so the wireless keyboard and mouse are not working. That is what I already teased a little bit earlier in that video. For the Mac Pro 2012 and older, you need a wired USB mouse and keyboard that you plug in for the first boot. So now my keyboard and mouse are working. I can log in, and then the OpenCore Legacy Patcher will pop up, say, okay, you're running without root patches. That's the reason why Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are not working. And you can see right now there is only a white screen. There's no graphic acceleration. There's no background image. So there it is. OpenCore Legacy Patcher has detected that it's running without root patches. Same here. You say okay. You just enter your password, and the OpenCore Legacy Patcher will apply the root patch, especially for the Radeon RX 580 for have graphic acceleration. You can see that it has already downloaded the KDK for macOS 14.4. That is the version 23E214 that was downloaded during the installation of the update. And now it finds the KDK already downloaded offline here on the Mac and using that for the root patch. So if you want to make sure you have the correct KDK installed, maybe you don't trust the automatic downloading during the install, you can go to the website of Dortania's KDK support packages and download the latest version for macOS 14.4. Again, that is the number 23E214. Download it, just install it, and it is ready on your Mac to be used during the root patching after the macOS 14.4 update. So the Mac Pro is booting up again. You could see the OpenCore Legacy Patcher boot screen and the Apple logo with a progress bar after the root patch. Make sure that you use the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.0 or 1.4.1 for root patching, because in my case, I just downloaded the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher. I installed it to the disk to boot it, but I didn't do any root patching before the update, which is obviously not needed as any update breaks the root patch. But there's one reason why you should do that. It also installs the new OpenCore Legacy Patcher to your system. And if you look closely here on my screenshot, what came up after I logged in when the root patch was not installed yet was the old OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.3.0. So it tried to root patch macOS 14.4 with the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.3, which obviously didn't work, and afterwards at the end of the root patching I got an error rebuilding kernel cache. So check the versioning number at the top of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher. If it's still 130, close it and open the fresh downloaded 1.4.0 or 1.4.1 to root patch. Then it will go through, then you can reboot, and as you can see we have the background here from Sonoma. Graphic acceleration is there. And I can just give you the info. I tested everything the same with the Mac Pro 2013. On the Mac Pro 2012, as it is a quite new graphics card, the RX 580, everything is working flawlessly. And right now we also have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth up and running again, but the same problem here. You have to remove the known network Wi-Fi and then reconnect, enter your password once, and then Wi-Fi and internet connection should work. Okay, now let's talk how you can update a Mac with an official macOS, like maybe Monterey or Ventura, to the latest macOS Sonoma. At first, obviously, you have to download the OpenCore Legacy Patcher version 1.4.1, always the latest. If there's a newer, then choose the newer one, or you find all the links down in the video description. And when you have downloaded that, now you have to install the OpenCore Legacy Patcher to your disk and reboot. So now it will fake a supported model, and then you will see that there is an update available to the latest Sonoma. I will just do that in parallel with the iMac 2017 on Ventura and the MacBook Pro 2016 on Monterey. And just let's start and install OpenCore to the system. So you start the OpenCore Legacy Patcher from the download, and it should already find your Mac model. Then you just click Build and Install OpenCore, and now you say Install to Disk. It's looking for your hard disk. That's easy with the MacBook Pro here. There's only one internal drive. You click that, and then it goes to the EFI partition. That's always the same. You just choose that. You need to enter your password, and now it is installed and it asks to reboot. If you have an iMac with a Fusion drive, so that means it has a small SSD, a small fast part, and a large HDD, a slow part, and it tries to get all the often used files on the fast part. So it seems that it's like a 1 terabyte fast storage. This acts in macOS as one drive, but with OpenCore, it will find both parts of that Fusion drive. So as you can see here, there's an SSD, the fast part, that has only 28 gigabytes, and an HDD 1 terabyte part, that's a large, slow part. I always recommend that you use the SSD, so the smaller part, for OpenCore. So just choose that, EFI, enter your password, and it should install OpenCore to your disk. And now we can just reboot both of them. You won't notice any change. There's only one more screen that you can see, and that is the OpenCore boot selector screen. So when you restart the Macs, keep the Option key pressed so that you will enter the Apple boot selector, as you can see here, and make sure that EFI boot with the OpenCore logo is selected. I always press Control so the logo changes into a circle and set this as standard boot option. Then you see the OpenCore boot screen that just will sit there for 5 seconds and then continue booting. And then you will just end up in your regular supported macOS without noticing any change. Maybe. Because when it is connected to the internet, then you should be able, let me just enter the passwords here. When it's connected to the internet and everything worked as expected, when you go to System Update, it should show macOS Sonoma 14.4 as the latest available update, as if it would be a supported Mac. So when I just go here to the system preferences, you can see there's already a small 1 in the circle that we have a software update. When I click on that, as you can see, it suggests macOS Sonoma 14.4 as an update for both of the machines. Easy as that. Now let's just click Upgrade Now. We agree to the terms and conditions, and it starts downloading macOS Sonoma. You should not be required to do anything. It should just start the update. It should just, let me just agree here, should download everything, install it, reboot a few times, and then it will greet you with a welcome screen of macOS Sonoma 14.4. Then we have to install the root patches, but let's just fast forward a little bit. So both machines have successfully updated to the latest macOS Sonoma 14.4 without any problems during setup. And despite, for instance, with the Mac Pros, you already see the Sonoma background image. Why? Because there are still some graphic drivers in macOS Sonoma for those Macs, even though the root patches are not installed yet. So when I just go to the OpenCore Legacy Patcher here and we click Post Install Root Patch, you can see that there are patches available for wireless. That's the reason why the Wi-Fi is not working yet, so it doesn't have any internet connection. And for the T1 security chip that just handles the touch bar. So we can start the root patching here, and we have to relaunch as root. As always, enter our password and we let it root patch and let it reboot afterwards, and then we're going to check if everything's working. So both machines have rebooted after the root patch, but there's one special thing, and maybe you can see that the screen here is flickering. On the iMac 2017, when you go again to the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and check root patches, it just says all applicable patches are already installed. Last volume patched 141 today. When you do that on the MacBook Pro 2016, it says that the root volume last patched was 141 today, but it finds more and more available patches as I've now connected it to the Wi-Fi internet. So just as a quick recap, I updated to Sonoma 14.4. There was no Wi-Fi, so no internet connection. I started the root patch, and that root patch only shows for wireless and T1 chip. I installed that, rebooted, connected it to the Wi-Fi. You say, okay, forget network and connect again, as with all other Macs. And now I went to the root patch again, and it now says AMD Legacy Graphic Core Next graphic cards, Intel Skylake graphics, that's the integrated graphic card in the CPU, modern wireless, and T1 security chip. So the graphic drivers just showed up to the root patch as I connected it to the internet. So you really should check twice for your root patch. At first, you do the root patch to enable Wi-Fi, to enable internet. You connect it to the internet, and then you should start the OpenCore Legacy Patcher again and check again if it says all applicable patches are already installed, then it's fine, or if there are more available patches. Okay, we are back after the reboot, so let's again go to the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and go to the post-install root patch. And now it says all applicable patches are being installed. So it was definitely worth doing it twice, because it seems that the OpenCore Legacy Patcher, when it's connected to the internet, has more info about that Mac model, what root patches have to be installed. Right now it looks quite smooth and handy. I will test both Macs if everything is working, but now let's switch over to the MacBooks and start installing from USB drive and see if that works. So now let's talk about the MacBooks. MacBook Pro 2012. So that's one of the oldest Macs you can install macOS Sonoma 14.4 on, because it has a metal capable graphics card. There is already macOS Sonoma 14.3.1 installed with OpenCore. MacBook Air 2013 should work now with OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.1 with a trackpad and a keyboard, and that is completely blank. There's no data on it. And that is a MacBook Pro 2015, the last one without any T1 or T2 security chip, and that also has macOS Sonoma 14.3.1. So I prepared 3 USB drives to boot from, and so if we switch it on, we keep the Alt key pressed, and I try to do everything parallel, more or less. I only got 2 hands, so. And you can see here on the Apple boot selector, we need the EFI boot with the USB logo. That is that yellow external drive logo. I use Control to set it as standard boot option. So now we boot the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 1.4.1, the OpenCore version of the disk. And now we start the installer. Let's go over here. We can just switch this MacBook Pro on, keep the Option key pressed. It's just searching for the USB drive. This is only the hard disk. So here's the USB OpenCore with that yellow external disk. We choose Control, EFI boot, and install macOS Sonoma. And as you can see, I was not quick enough, because in this one, it just booted the regular Sonoma that is already installed. So let me just reboot that and go into the setup. Here you can see the recovery is already popping up, and we just use install macOS Sonoma, say continue, then we just have to agree to the legal terms, and then we can start. I will just restart here. Again, keep the Alt key pressed. There we go. We choose the EFI boot, control, but now we don't use Macintosh HD, that would just boot Sonoma. We use install macOS Sonoma. Now the recovery should come up. Here the recovery is already up. There's a little issue with the graphics, that is the quite small display is due to that this is the original resolution of that display. When it's in regular use with macOS, it just doubles the size, so it's not that tiny and you cannot read anything, but that makes that Retina display, as it has such a high PPI, that it's quite crisp and clear. Right now it is not doing that doubling, so you have very tiny text here, but it's fine. You can just click on install macOS Sonoma, continue, and we do the same here. Install macOS Sonoma, continue, and here we can also agree to the legal stuff, and we install it obviously to the internal hard disk. We say continue here, we say continue here, and this one already started with installing about half an hour. Then the first reboots should come up, and let's wait for the other two to start the setup. And when it's doing its reboot, we can see with every MacBook if there are any issues like on the macOS Sonoma versions before, with a stuck progress bar or anything like that. Agree to the terms, install it to the internal drive. This one starting also, we say agree here. We use the internal drive. The other one is the bootcamp drive, because there's also Windows 11 installed, but we just want to update macOS. So we kicked it off. Let's wait half an hour until every MacBook has rebooted, and then we can see if everything is smooth, if there's a difference between a MacBook where macOS is already installed and a clean MacBook where nothing is installed. So let's just fast forward a little bit. So, and while the MacBooks are updating or installing, I just tested the iMac and the MacBook Pro 2016 with all that quick check software that we already did with the Mac Pro. Everything is working fine. One thing that I wanted to test is the MacBook Pro has a T1 chip because it has Touch ID and a touch bar. The touch bar is working, but I just closed the MacBook. I open it up so you see the screensaver of Sonoma running, and let's see if the Touch ID, it works. So the T1 chip is also working because I just could unlock the MacBook with my finger. So you see everything is fine. All the apps are here open as well. Apple TV, Safari, weather app, photo app, and everything is working. Obviously there's no time in 2 days to do a very thoroughly testing, but as far as I can tell right now, those two Macs do work. So let's head back to the MacBooks and see how far they are. So a quick update about the MacBooks. All three of them have completed the first phase in the recovery screen, have rebooted. They automatically continued the update, and all three of them are just stating about 26, 27, 28 minutes remaining. And if you hear it, this one is revving up the fans as it's working to install and to update Sonoma. So this is fine as long as there is a time below the progress bar. It's not stuck. The stuck progress bar problem was just a 1/3 progress bar and no text below. So let's just fast forward again to the last and final phase of the installation. So we have a first result of the USB update method. The MacBook Pro 2012 seems to be stuck with an Apple logo about 1/3 progress bar. The MacBook Pro 2015 seems to be stuck without an Apple logo about 1/3 progress bar. And the MacBook Air, where there was no macOS on the hard disk before, so it's not an update, it's a fresh install, it just continued and it started with now 15% completed below the progress bar. So that is the situation I already showed in one of my older videos. If they get stuck with 1/3 progress bar and there's no text, no percentage below the progress bar, you might need the safe mode. So let's just restart the MacBook Pro 2012. And I just do a regular restart. We don't use safe mode yet, so we just check if it is working, maybe just after a regular restart. We do the same with the MacBook Pro 2015. And so it started OpenCore and it started the regular Macintosh HD, so the regular macOS Sonoma, because that's the final stage where it's not called install macOS Sonoma anymore, it's just macOS Sonoma. This one is booting up as well. We do have an Apple logo on both of them. You can see the OpenCore boot selector and Macintosh HD. So let's check if just a reboot changed anything or if we need the safe mode to see a percentage below the progress bar. So the MacBook Air is 98% already, so this one should be done in a few seconds. But as it seems, both MacBook Pros that already had Sonoma installed are already stuck about 1/3 with the progress bar. All right, so we switch it off again. We reboot and we wait for the OpenCore boot selector, and then we use Shift and select Macintosh HD right now to start the safe mode. And I do the same here. Let's switch this off again and reboot. You can see the MacBook Air just rebooted on itself, so this looks like it's proceeding. That's a MacBook Pro 2015 booting up. We're waiting for the OpenCore Legacy Patcher screen. Or it's more the OpenCore boot selector. It's not the Legacy Patcher screen, it's the OpenCore boot selector. We keep Shift pressed and select Macintosh HD. And here you can see on the MacBook Pro 2012, as promised, there is a 10% completed below the progress bar, so it is continuing. Let's see if that helps also with the MacBook Pro 2015. Yes, you can see the graphic just got smaller and you see a 1% completed. So that's more or less the proof that it is an issue just before the graphic drivers are loaded. Because that small screen, so that is the original resolution, as I already told you, for that Retina display, it is stuck right before it's loading the graphic drivers and it's getting to that resolution. Same here. And now it's telling me that it has a built-in screen, voiceover, and this is the setup of a freshly installed macOS. So I will, okay, thanks. So I will continue setting this up and letting those two finish their update. This one is with 22%, this one is 98%. So let's fast forward until we are in the macOS Sonoma. So all MacBooks made it to macOS Sonoma 14.4 with the help of the safe mode if it's already installed. So there's one difference between the MacBook Air that had a fresh install and the MacBooks Pro that already had Sonoma on it, and that is Wi-Fi. Even though, and that is the good thing, that with the USB method, all root patches are automatically applied during install. So you don't need to install root patches here. It is not forbidden to check it again, as we saw with the MacBook Pro 2016, if all are applied. But with the USB method, all should have been applied already. But as there has been Sonoma on these two MacBook Pros already, they have the same issue with all other Macs with the Wi-Fi. You have to forget the known network, and then you have to reconnect, enter your password once, and then it's fine. With a fresh install, the setup already asked for the Wi-Fi password, and so it is already connected and has internet connection. And right now the MacBooks just complain that, for instance here, Legacy Patcher has detected that you are booting OpenCore from USB, which is totally correct because we booted it from USB with the latest Legacy Patcher 1.41. Another advantage, now due to this USB setup, the OpenCore Legacy Patcher is already up to date on that Mac. So we can just click OK. We want to launch it, and we now want to install OpenCore on the hard drive so that we delete an old OpenCore version if it's still on this one, or if we have to install it on the hard disk so that we can boot without the USB drive in the next boot. So we say install to disk, and we say the hard disk, EFI, enter our password. It installs the OpenCore Legacy Patcher to the disk, and then we can reboot, and we don't need the USB drive anymore. So everything seems to be very well running on those MacBooks. And that concludes that video. I know it was quite long and quite a lot of information and quite a lot of different Mac models, but my intent was to give you an overview about all Mac models and CPU generations and graphic card generations, starting in 2012 with that MacBook Pro here, up until 2017, which is the latest officially not supported Mac for macOS Sonoma. As far as I could test in that 2 days, everything's fine. The only issue is that I already showed with the trash can sitting behind that MacBook is the transparency issue with the text in maps, and all integrated maps like the weather app with the maps or the places map in photos. Because the Apple Map Kit requires a newer metal version that the Mac Pro 2013 doesn't have. Graphic acceleration is more or less only usable in the newer Macs. For instance, MacBook Pro 2012, it has a dedicated GeForce graphics card that has at least H264 graphic acceleration on a UHD level. The Mac Pro 2013 doesn't have any graphic acceleration at all. And if you haven't yet subscribed my channel, click the bell for notification, because one of the next videos will be an answer more or less to the video of the definitive Mac upgrade guide. So Greg Gant, he did a video about the trash can, because he's a hater of the trash can, if it's usable in 2024. And I'm planning on doing a response video to that, how you can make the trash can be usable in 2024 with the help of an eGPU, an external graphic card with Thunderbolt. So that would be one of the future videos. But the graphic cards that are right now here in the trash can, the D3, D5 or D700 don't have any graphic acceleration in macOS higher than Monterey. That's the latest official one. So the MacBook Air at least has 264 graphic acceleration on the 4K level, and all newer Macs or the Mac Pro 2012 with an upgraded RX 580, they do have graphic acceleration. Depending on what you're doing with that old Mac, I'd like to conclude this video right now. If you have a 2012 Mac or younger, use the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher 141 or newer if there are any new ones in the future. You can run Sonoma 14.4 without big hiccups. But I have a Discord server and I would love to invite them to join the Discord server. The link is also down in the video description. And let's start discussing. Let's start talking about your experiences with your Mac model. I obviously cannot test every Mac model. With Sonoma 14.4, your problems during install or during the use, if you find any bugs, because all the OpenCore developers would greatly hear about that. And so join the Discord, give me a comment below the video if you find anything, if you have any trouble. And in the Discord community, I think we reached 1,500 members, more or less. There are many willing to help you if there's any question, any problem. Thank you so much for watching. Have fun here on my channel and see you next video. Bye bye.